Jake, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Aaron, thank you so much for having me again.
Absolutely. I love having you on. You're sort of my go-to guy when it comes to anything current events, which basically means I can have you on almost every single day with all the fucking shit that just pops off all the time. But we both became new dads. A lot of stuff happened there. And we'll jump into a bunch of current events that I just want to get your take on. But before we do that, I'm sure we both want to know how dad life is treating the both of us. So you go and then I'll go as well.
It's fantastic. Sailor, who is in the other room right now with my wife, just woke up. So I missed the afternoon feed and I missed the late morning feed. Usually, I'm the guy that brings the feed to about 4 p.m. and then wife takes over for nighttime. So right now, she's not just mad at me. My wife is also mad at you. So just throwing that part out there that you're getting me in trouble right now. But I always talk about you. So she knows, like, you know what? This is an okay one to skip. And I'm so happy you brought this up as the first question, because the first question I wanted to ask is, how is dad life? Mazel tov. Last thing, by the way, I heard her giggle for the first time. Dude, it is the best thing in the world. Like, dad life is the best thing and the worst thing in the world. There's nothing but ones and tens. And yesterday was 10. She giggled because you can see, if you've seen me before, there is no facial hair. This is a mistake with the trimmer. I haven't had the ability to see my face in more than 4 years, and I messed up while trimming yesterday. And so what got the giggle from my daughter was she looked at me and she thought I looked just as stupid as my wife told me I did once I made the mistake with the trimmer. But enough of that. I need to know, how are you doing, new dad?
Oh man. Well, one thing is first, when I actually meet your wife in person, I will apologize for taking you away, but also thanking her for allowing you to bestow some wisdom on this podcast. Eventually, when all of our families meet, God willing, that'll happen. That'll be awesome. Because you and I are becoming, friends, and beyond that, I have a lot of similarities and all those types of things. Anyways, I don't need to gush over that. We could do that separately. But dad life for me, my son at the time we're recording this, was October 16th, is almost 4 weeks old. And it's amazing, man. Of course, yeah, there's some frustrating moments. Sometimes I'm not sure why he's crying, even though he's just been fed and his diaper's clean and he just got new clothes on and he's still crying. But like overall, it's just like, it's amazing just to see like this little precious little human who my wife and I have full responsibility over to try and mold and develop into something great. But right now, he's just like sort of a blob. So,
He is. And it's
yeah.
the worst thing in the world is exactly what you said. When you've done everything you know you're supposed to do, and all you think is like, I can't help you any longer. There is nothing here for me to do. Why won't you stop crying? Yeah. I do have to say, your video on, I'm probably going to get the title incorrect, but paraphrasing, how dare you call them birthing people? Love
Uh-huh.
that. Thought that was fantastic. That was exactly, because if you were you in the room?
Oh, yeah. I was as close as
Okay.
you can
Were you in
fucking
the,
get.
how much did you see? 100%? Were you
All
denied
of
it?
it. I was, yeah.
Don't call them birthing people. How dare you call them birthing people? That is a superpower bestowed upon women by God. And if you call them birthing people, I think that you are being blasphemous. I think it is that ludicrous to use the phrase birthing people. Those are women engaging their superpower. And by the way, how is your superwoman doing?
Really good. Yeah, really good. I mean, my wife takes like excellent care of herself, pre-pregnancy, all of that stuff. We have a strong value of working out in our household. And so I think that
Well,
really helped her with her pregnancy. And is now helping her sort of post pregnancy, having her body recover. But it's still, strenuous. Obviously, as you know, her body's like ripped up on the inside and it's like going through a bunch of
literally.
stuff. She's recovering, also trying to take care of a human at the same time. It's a really sort of interesting thing because like you're pregnant for 9 months and then all of a sudden you just have a baby. And it's
Yeah.
like, with it,
And it's,
like, and my wife's supposed to recover. I'm supposed to do stuff. The baby's supposed to stay alive. It's very, obviously people have done it for thousands of years. And our motto is everything is figure outable. And, we have more resources than many people do, thank God. And so we'll figure it out, but it's still just a very interesting journey. She's doing awesome. Yeah, she's watched, I think, more baseball than she wanted to because we're on the couch. There's postseason baseballs on. We're feeding. We're hanging out. So it's been a good time, perfect time
Mhm.
to have a baby during postseason baseball. And she knows that our son's going to play baseball. He doesn't have a choice. Maybe that's bad parenting. I don't know, but
No, no. But being an
yeah,
American, that's terrific dadding right there. No,
yeah.
that's
So
awesome. You should I just need to oh, yeah, sweet. Jocko, go. Let's go.
that's right.
Um, so my main thing, and maybe this is the last point I'll make about the babies. You talked about how your wife is watching more baseball than she probably bargained for. Because I'm the one that wakes up in the morning with the baby, and now she sleeps through the night. It's fantastic, but she'll still get up early. My wife will sleep in, which is great because I have made my baby watch all of the sports I could think of. So all of the baseball, all of the football. I have gotten her into obviously hockey. Rugby is a big one. Sumo because they had their basho in September, so she was watching all of the sumo for the 15 days that the sumo tournament, known as basho, goes on, and also snooker. So I have all, which is that weird form of pool that they play across the pond there. So all of the sports, my baby girl knows all of the sports. So I know I'm doing at least that job as a dad perfectly.
Yes. Uh, yeah, it's amazing. Can't wait to introduce some WWE to my son. He's watched some. Obviously, he's not paying attention, but he knows. But it's brilliant. I encourage any young men out there to get married, find the love of your life, and have children. It's a beautiful thing. It makes life better, as Dr. Jordan Peterson would say. We need to shoulder as much responsibility as possible. And also, speaking of Dr. Jordan Peterson, prayers to him for recovering on whatever he's going through. I watched his daughter's video the other day, and him
Heart
and
wrenching.
Dennis Prager being sick at the same time is really a catastrophe. Both men have very much shaped my life and the way I think about things in the world, especially about being a dad and shouldering that responsibility. So, lots of love to them, their families, and hopefully, they're as healthy as can be as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But off that, let's jump into some more contentious subjects here, Jake. And let's talk about Charlie Kirk a little bit. So it's been a few weeks now. I don't know, maybe a month or so, I don't know, some time has passed since the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk. At this point in time, what are some of your reflections on what you've seen from certain individuals, how you feel about the country moving forward, and just sort of your, honest reflections about it?
I don't think many people learned a lesson. I thought that the reaction by people on both sides of the political aisle was unfortunately what I expected to be. Way too many jokes. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't a joke. There was no joke there. He was trying to say something, not even trying, he was saying something that was factually untrue. That the assassin, assassinator sounds like a terrible wrestler. The assassin of Charlie Kirk wasn't a right wing MAGA guy. Even if it was, I don't care. I care about the acceptance of political violence. That to me is something that's been going on for quite some time, and it's both sides of the political aisle. If you had told me before this week, who am I more worried about? I would have said the left. But with the leak of that Politico story and the group chat of the young Republicans in Arizona, to me, it seems like people don't understand how political violence happens. It doesn't happen, boom, like somebody turning on the light. Political violence happens by little itty bitty baby steps. And then by the time that you look up, now people are ready to go to a 4,000 person event and shoot somebody from a roof. It is not a flash in the pan. It is something that builds over time. And if you excuse the worst actors on your side of the political aisle, what you're doing is saying, this is acceptable. This is something that I think is okay for the pure politics of it. I consider myself, and this is why you and I are such great friends, but I consider myself somebody that has very stark black and white principles. And when you do something that is wrong, I don't check to see if there's an R or a D or an I next to your name. I don't care. If you do something that is wrong, make that if you do something that is wrong, what you've done is something that is wrong. It doesn't matter who you are. And if you can't denounce and condemn the worst actors on your side, then you're being a principled person wrong. And I could get into very specifics if you want me to, but that's kind of how I feel right now. I don't think that the country is headed in a good direction. And I think it is both sides of the political aisle right now that are excusing their worst actors. And I won't take it. Like, that's the video I'm going to work on right when I'm done here with you. I'm going to work on that video because I think we're headed in a terrible, terrible direction and one of the most dangerous paths you could possibly think of.
Yes, I'll take the specifics, please.
Okay, Tucker Carlson. If you're on the right and you think that Tucker Carlson belongs in the right wing camp, then you are doing it wrong. And when I mean you, I mean JD Vance. I mean Megyn Kelly. I mean Glenn Beck. I like Megyn Kelly. I like Glenn Beck. Ben Shapiro learned his lesson. His previous two episodes, he has gone all in on Tucker Carlson. And he does it in a way that I've been trying to point out to people. Tucker Carlson is kind of like a pseudo Andrew Tate, or maybe Andrew Tate's a pseudo Tucker Carlson. But with Andrew Tate, he says, look, here is the issue. Tucker Carlson is good at pointing out an issue. But all he does is point out the issue and then complain about it. He doesn't offer anything close to a solution. And when he does, they are anti-American solutions. And I've thought this about Tucker Carlson forever. I read his book that came out maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and he was on the Ben Shapiro Sunday Conversation pushing his book. And at one point in their conversation, Tucker Carlson was mentioning the fact that one of the most highly sought after jobs for blue collar people is driving trucks. And Ben Shapiro had mentioned, but the trucking industry is going to have an overhaul soon as in the next 10, 15 years, because of Tesla and because of self-driving cars. That's how it's going to be done soon. And what ended up happening was Ben Shapiro asked Tucker Carlson, are you saying that you're going to stymie and stop the progress of this just to save those jobs? And he said, yes. That's somebody who's professing to be a Luddite. That's somebody that's professing to be anti-American, anti-progress, anti-technology. The American dream is all about coming up with something new and making something better for yourself. It's not to say that it's terrible that all of those jobs are going to go away, but it is to say, hey, you can come up now with something new, something earth-shattering, groundbreaking. And the fact that you don't do it means that you don't understand America. And the fact that people listen to Tucker Carlson on that object, or I should say subject alone, is disqualifying enough when it comes to Tucker Carlson. Now you throw in the rabid Jew hatred and the worst foreign policy analyses I have ever seen. How are you doing since World War III, by the way? Have you recovered since World War III? Yeah, that 12
Yeah,
day
we're
war.
doing
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
World War III. But your Tucker Carlson's, he cannot be in the right wing camp. You want to know why? Because that Jew hatred and that bigotry, that now says that Nick Fuentes is allowed in the right wing camp. It now says that Dan Bilzerian can be back in the right wing camp. These are not people who are in any way right wing conservatives. They're not even populists. They're just bigots. And if you can't say that when it's so obvious, then I don't just distrust the person like Dan Bilzerian, Megyn Kelly, Nick Fuentes, and Tucker Carlson. I now don't trust you, and I want you out of the party. I want you outside of our tent.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can't lead with your first principles in all cases, not just when it suits you, it's not really first principles thinking anymore, like Konstantin Kisin says, who's someone that is incredible sort of on all regards, and he's not afraid of talking to anyone about anything. If it aligns with his first principles, then it's good. And yeah, Megyn Kelly said something interesting. I don't know when it was, a few weeks ago, but she's like, my work is to like destroy the left, not to like call out parties in the right. Well, whatever side you're on, if you're not holding people on your own side accountable, then there's no growth, there's no evolution, and there's no actual forward thinking that's going to make the lives of American people better, which is the whole point, or should be the whole point of politics. And like Tucker Carlson also is just like he just seems like a straight up, I don't know if he's a liar. I think he knows what he's doing, so I wouldn't call him a liar. He's like a scoundrel or like a shapeshifter. There's a bunch of videos on the internet where he's like the most recent one, right? He has the interview with Piers Morgan, and he says he doesn't know what the word ally means. Okay, well, that's fucking retarded. Okay, and then he goes on like 3 weeks later and says Qatar is our greatest ally. Oh, you figured out what the fucking word meant. That's great, man. So proud of you. So it's like, so it's strange, and it's also strange at the same time that so many people follow him and like really, really, really respect what he has to say. That's sort of where it gets a little bit tricky. Because when you sort of develop a cult following like him and Candace Owens, like people will fucking die on the sword with those people, and that's a lot of folks who are going to lean in that direction.
Yeah, it's too many. It's way too many. And there's this idea going on, no enemies to the right, NETTR. Yeah, no enemies to the right. And you're seeing Matt Walsh say stuff like this because they're saying the whole, oh, we're pearl clutching over that young Arizona Republican group chat. I'm not pearl clutching when I see somebody in no way making a joke about calling black people monkeys. No, not in my group, not in my camp. The reason that I don't know about your side of things, but usually if you have any Ashkenazi, there's some ancestor. How you get into the gas chambers, which they also talked about, by the way, in that group chat, is by not pointing that out, is by saying that's acceptable. When you start doing that dehumanizing behavior and language, you are at the beginning of that road. And I've seen Jack Posobiec do it. I've seen a bunch of Donald Trump Jr., where they have the empty chair of the Charlie Kirk show. That's how you get the empty chair. And I don't know if they don't know this or if they're being disingenuous. And honestly, for people that are that influential, as you said, millions, tens of millions of followers, people listen and hang on their every word. For those people, to me, there's no difference whatsoever between ignorance and malice. None, because you need to know better. And that's why it's the Megyn Kelly that I have an issue with just as much as the Matt Walsh saying I'm pearl clutching. Fuck you. No, I'm not pearl clutching. I'm actually pointing out that you don't have a problem with people being bigoted just so long as they help you win. But who is you? Who is we in this scenario? For me, if I look at the political spectrum right now, if you're looking at 2028, I think there are three people that are going to be the GOP nominee. Two, I can absolutely get behind, and one, I am terrified of. The two I can get behind, one, Marco Rubio, the best United States Secretary of State ever, what he's been able to do with Trump at the helm, using strength in order to get to peace, phenomenal. Blowing up cartel members in the open ocean, love it. 3, 2, 1, boom. Love that stuff. You guys kill Americans with your trafficking. So before you get to do that, you get to wave bye-bye never was land. Phenomenal stuff there. The other one is Ron DeSantis. Now, I'm a massive Ron DeSantis fan because during COVID, I was actually living in Israel, and Israel was making me nuts because you couldn't go outside of your apartment. But when all of that was going on, I said, I need to leave. So I left Israel, went to Florida because they didn't have any rules, and Ron DeSantis gave me my sanity back. And that's like not a joke whatsoever. He gave me my sanity back. But then in the 2024 presidential election, he ran the worst campaign I've ever seen anybody run. He did everything too late. He did everything incorrectly. He was running with Thomas Massey, which in retrospect is really fucking weird given how good philo-Semitic, a friend to the Jews, in other words, Ron DeSantis is. And then the third one is J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, best friends with Charlie Kirk. I feel for him having lost a friend. That doesn't mean that you should have Tucker Carlson at the Charlie Kirk honors at the White House. That's scary. When somebody who hates Jews for being Jews as much as Tucker Carlson does, and even if he's not being true, if it's just a grift, that actually might be worse. But if you have somebody that close to the Oval Office, that scares me. Because what you're saying is Jew hatred is A-OK in 2024 and more than likely, this is 2025, Jake, in 2025 and more than likely in 2028. And that scares me, not just as a Jew, but as an American. Because if bigotry is to be accepted, then I think we don't have much longer to go in this country because the left has a massive issue with it. And the right, where I thought we had gone beyond this, we're bringing it back. It's fucking retro again. And I don't want to be that retro. I don't need to go back 65 years. Don't need that. No how.
Yeah. Hmm. Do you think in 3 years' time, when we have the next election, we'll be in a better spot or a worse spot than we are right now as a country?
I think the conversation that is occurring this week, like in particular, you said October 16th, that is today's date, October 16th, 2025. I don't think that this is a 24-hour news cycle issue. I actually think this is the issue when it comes to the right side of the aisle. I don't know who's going to win. Ben Shapiro is pushing back. He hadn't, and I was really down on him. I had watched every single one of his episodes, I think, for the last 9 years. I'm not sure if I had ever missed one. And the last week and a half, 2 weeks, really since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, where he said, he being Ben Shapiro, where he said, you know what, I need to build bridges with Tucker Carlson. We need to get on the same page. I didn't like that because I knew Tucker Carlson was not going to stop. He gets too much money out of it. You have Alex Jones on your fucking show now. Absolutely not. No, no chance. So with Ben Shapiro starting to push back, but with Matt Walsh pushing back on that, and Glenn Beck not calling out Tucker Carlson, and Megyn Kelly failing to live by anything resembling principles, I don't know. If I if I was a betting man, let's be honest. So I'm a betting man. I would put it at, I think it's really close. I think it's 60-40 right now. I think it's 60-40 that the good guys, quote unquote, the principled actors are going to win. Because what I think is going to happen is once that primary season starts, it's going to get really rough, and I think people are going to drag JD Vance for some of the worst stuff, not worse, like for who he hangs out with. And I think that's what the right side of the aisle is going to have a long fight about. So 60-40, the good guys will end up being on top, but like I legitimately think about 40% that we're in trouble.
Mm. Do you think the other side, the left side, is going to have any suitable candidates because they haven't recently
I love
that could
John Fetterman.
actually, yeah, yeah.
John Fetterman is the only one that I see. Um, that's it. Gavin Newsom, horrible, horrible human being. The type, no, if you use your position of power and abuse your position of power because you're the governor, so you don't have to live by the rules that you have forced on other people, like, and I guess we're just talking about, or I'm just going to talk about COVID today, like Gavin Newsom did, going to the French Laundry. That is despicable behavior. That is so unprincipled. It is hard to even wrap my head around because I'm not anywhere close to that unprincipled. So no to Gavin Newsom. The Katie Hochul, the governor of New York, going from we can't have Zoran Mamdani to I'm endorsing Zoran Mamdani for mayor. That's bad. AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. Who's the next person up? Their bench is terrible. It's not Kamala. She, she's fucking horrible. It's so funny. Like when you think she can't get worse, she does. I'm like, wonderful. You are funnier than anything I've seen on SNL this side of the Shane Gillis episode. So no, I don't think they have anybody. I know that they won't go with Josh Shapiro. They ousted him in 2024 because he was Jewish. That was his issue. And I sincerely believe that the left just doesn't like Jews. And the reason I believe that is because, well, I have eyes and ears. So the only person that I legitimately think can do a good job is Fetterman, and his actual like politics aren't the best because he kind of is a socialist, but at the same time, I think he understands America better than just about anybody. I think deep down, not even deep down, John Fetterman's a good person. I don't know if those other people are good people. I think they're
Mm.
purposely trying to change this country because they either A, hate what America stands for, which is freedom, liberty, and equal governance and application of law, or I, I they're stupid, like really, really stupid people who have never opened up a history book. And again, I don't care if you're ignorant. To me, there's a certain level of ignorance that becomes malice, and that's what a lot of people on the left are.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, speaking, I mean, we're talking about sort of post Charlie Kirk assassination here and some reflections about it. And it's like one of the most sort of insidious things that came about was the immediate reaction to blame Israel for the murder and assassination of Charlie Kirk, which I didn't really think that was like a possible thing that someone's brain could go to, right? I can pick up on some anti-Semitism. I can pick on some Jew hatred. I go live on TikTok almost every night, and some of the fucking shit I see is vile. So I could see it in real time. But like that connection to me, it was strange. Maybe it's the sign of the times. Maybe it's how people feel. I don't know. What was your take on just seeing that sort of immediately following Charlie Kirk's death?
Completely expected. Now it's the worst type of uh, not poetic justice. There's going to be a better word for it, and I need to figure out what that is before I put my gigantic feet in my mouth. Um, but the fact that Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly were talking about how Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad agent before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. It's that same type of conspirational, yeah, whatever, conspiracy theory thinking. It's that type of conspiracy theory thinking where everything and always is on the Jews. It's an obsession. It's the oldest conspiracy theory. It's been around for 2,000 years. The Jews killed Jesus. No, we did not. So no, that didn't happen the way that anybody else ever says it. But the main thing for me is I expected that completely. That's everything is always and forever Israel's fault. Israel is the boogeyman hiding under everyone's bed. And the everyone that keeps coming back to it, they don't know the first fucking thing about Israel. They'll go and they'll talk about the USS Liberty and not know that every single person on that was paid reparations, even though the entire fucking signal for the US Liberty, you shouldn't have been there. You were told not to be there. They just didn't get the message, and Israel thought it was an Egyptian ship. Absolute tragedy, horrible that American Navy men and soldiers died. Absolutely. At the same time, every single fucking conspiracy is about Israel, is about the Jews. So when Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, that nobody could possibly believe that it was the person that they said. I use Occam's razor all the time because I'm not fucking smart enough to create these gigantic conspiracy theories. The simplest answer is the solution. That is Occam's razor. So, who shot Charlie Kirk? The guy who said, I shot Charlie Kirk, and told a bunch of other people, I shot Charlie Kirk. The guy who we see on video saying, I shot Charlie Kirk, or not on video, but who we saw running away from the actual scene. He shot Charlie Kirk, the guy who told his dad, I shot Charlie Kirk. That's the guy, in my maybe stupid opinion, who shot Charlie Kirk. The guy who says it.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess I I guess I'm a little more naive than you. I was like, man, I don't think they're gonna do that. And then they did
Well, this is my
that.
job. Yeah, this is my job. I combat anti-Semitism. I know and understand all the conspiracy theories, where they come from, how to combat them, all of them. So when I saw that, my first thought was that is absolutely horrible and sickening. And this is a day that many people are going to remember. And then my next thought was, I had like three really fast thoughts. The next thought was, good God, I feel terrible for his wife, Erica, and his children. And then the next thought after that one was, I wonder how long it's going to be until they blame Israel. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, pick a bad thing that's happened and it's Israel's fault, because Israel is the
Yeah.
lodestone of conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking on that, I'm been trying to figure out sort of Candace Owens and her line of thinking, and I think I came to a conclusion based on a tweet I saw the other day by a very smart person that I'm sure we'll talk about here in a second, Coleman Hughes,
Yeah.
and he mentioned the word schizophrenia when talking about Candace Owens, and that clicked something off in my brain. To get personal here a little bit, my sister
Right.
had schizophrenia, and towards the very end of her life, before she died by suicide, she was convinced that the government was outside of our house and they were calling her phone every 12 hours. Now, she did work for Raytheon on a bunch of government contracts.
Sorry.
So it's not like that was like super far-fetched, right? Like it wasn't completely out of the ordinary. So there's some sort of through line there that makes sense to her and her brain. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what schizophrenia is, imagine this scenario. You are having a conversation with a friend in real life, like you're talking, and then there's two people on the side of you, and they've rolled up paper, and the paper is attached to your ear, and they're speaking gibberish on each side of your ear while you're trying to have a conversation with the person in front of you. Imagine how much noise is going on right there. You don't know what's real, what's not real, what's actually happening, what's not actually happening. And like in my sister's case, in most people's cases, there can be some semblance of truth in there. And so you follow that line. And my sister did follow that line. And she thought people were here and there and outside and they was watching her and all these types of things. And then Coleman Hughes mentions that about Candace Owens. And I'm like, that makes sense because she has this one thought that might have some semblance of truth, and then she connects every weird fucking dot known to humanly possible that is compacted with a bunch of lies and half-truths, and then muddled right in the middle is something like that sounds really smart and genius, and people are like, that's it. But it's packed with all of this other nonsense. And it is, I don't know if she has schizophrenia. I'm not going to sort of diagnose her on this podcast, but it is schizophrenic thinking in regards to what I've had experienced with my sister. And so I think that can be an explanation. Now it's not a reason for her nefarious and horrible behavior, but it could be an explanation, and we could maybe use that to figure out where she might go next or how we can sort of combat the things she says and all these types of things to actually get the truth out there. And I don't have a real question there, Jake, just sort of pointing that out as I was thinking about it.
No, I agree, and I saw that tweet by their post now, right? We're on X, their posts. I saw that post by Coleman Hughes, and I'd actually thought of you because I had seen you talking about that, unfortunately, with your sister, because I don't have a lot of experience with schizophrenia, and it was really enlightening. So thank you for sharing that. It really helped some things that I've seen in my past. To me, it's obsessive. And I think it's this one side of the same coin between
Hmm.
schizophrenic behavior and obsessive behavior. To me, she's got that idea. And like you said, she connects everything. And because Jews are the number one conspiracy theory that you have to do, and Israel is a stand in for Jews, that's what it is. Her, the idea that she has gone this long talking about Bridget Macron being a dude is fucking insane. Like,
Hmm.
again, schizophrenic behavior. She can't let that go. And there's that voice, or maybe multiple voices in her head saying, she's a dude. She's a dude. Look, we know she's a dude. Like, she's not a dude. Now, is it fucking weird to me that for some reason the French, even though they did file the lawsuit, don't just post a birth certificate? Like, fuck off. Like, that's all I do. Like, here you go. You're getting sued because she's a dude. And now give me millions of dollars. And I hope you get bankrupt the same way that Alex Jones is out 1.8 billion fucking dollars. That guy deserves it too. And he has the same.
1.8 billion.
Yeah. So the Sandy Hook appeal, which he's never had to pay a
Uh,
single cent for, that was upheld by a judge this week. Which is
this
why
week.
Alex Jones. Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago, actually. I'll have to check
Oh,
that, but yeah. So that was upheld as it should be because they weren't groypers at the time, but that Alex Jones crew, they harassed all of the Sandy Hook parents. Now, look at the fucking shirt I'm wearing. I do not like what the Sandy Hook parents are doing, which is standing on the graves of their children saying, you need to take away the guns from everybody. Fuck you, I'm Jewish. You are not taking my gun, aka, Pew Pew Jew. He's in Texas. If you ever want to find him out, Yehuda Reamer. But that's what they do. They get obsessive and then they go down these rabbit holes. And somebody like Joe Rogan amplifies them. InfoWars has Owen Schroyer. Now he's gone, but he's the same way. Harrison H. Smith, who's just a fucking dweeby looking bastard, ain't he? If you don't know who that is, check him up after this. But that's what these people do. They prey on those kinds of people who have that obsessive and or schizophrenic behaviors. And they say, look at this conspiracy theory. And then they send those people down the rabbit holes. And then those people are the ones that get up on a roof of Utah and shoot Charlie Kirk. That's how that all
mhm.
works.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, I brought up a Coleman Hughes, so I'm sure you watched the Coleman Hughes Dave Smith debate. One of the best things I've ever watched. Was awesome. I mean, I want to say this about Dave Smith. I actually I like Dave Smith, to be honest. And if he didn't talk about Israel, and a few of the other little weird conspiracies that he talks about, like I think he would be like a cool guy to hang out with, like to be honest. Um, but he's gone sort of off the deep end about some of these things, and he has yet to sort of confront someone that really nails him on certain subjects where he can't just say like these generic talking points. It could have happened with Douglas Murray, but that was sort of a weird thing that happened there. We could talk about that also. I think we talked about that last time. But anyways, you know me, I'd like to preface it with saying something sort of kind about the guy. You know, he's a father, he's got
Yeah.
children. I'm glad he's making money for his kids and all these types of things and whatever. Because I know you're about to go in on this shit, but that was an incredible, that was an incredible conversation. By Coleman Hughes. He did an absolutely fantastic job, was very well prepared, was calm, was direct, spoke very elegantly. Like he's a brilliant guy, obviously, if you followed him. But your reaction to that conversation slash debate slash ass whooping.
Okay, so first and foremost, the one thing I want anybody on the fucking internet to tell me, what is your favorite Dave Smith joke? He is comic Dave Smith, and I have never heard him tell a joke. And when he tells a joke, it always bombs in podcasts. They're really fucking bad jokes. And there was one at the end of the debate with Coleman Hughes where he told the joke, and Coleman was like, huh? And Dave Smith was like, oh, it was a joke. It was a joke. I'm like, that's the only time I've ever fucking seen you really try to tell a joke. And apparently you don't do the comic stuff funny. And I've even looked up his bits on YouTube. I'm like, they're not good. He's not that funny. So the reaction to the debate, first and foremost, you said that Coleman Hughes came prepared. He absolutely did. In fact, somebody on X had pointed that out, and I said, okay, so you're mad that he brought notes to the debate so that he could perfectly quote the person he was trying to quote. It's like it wasn't a closed blue book exam. It was a debate where he was using sources. You're not just allowed to do that. It makes for a better fucking debate as opposed to Dave Smith, who always has to generalize. And that was the thing that Coleman Hughes did so well. He kept going at him on specifics. And hearkening back to the Joe Rogan debate, that was what Douglas Murray was saying with the "you've never been," like that viral moment. He was saying, you don't know the specifics about this. So what the fuck are you even talking about? Every single thing that you tried to do is a relayed thought. Now, for me, my issue with Dave Smith is always the fact that his outlook will get more people killed. He has the idea that war is bad. No fucking shit, my dude. Yes, war is bad, but there are times where war is necessary. World War II, I always like to point out, absolutely necessary. I always point out dropping the bombs on Nagasaki, make that on Hiroshima and then Nagasaki. I believe I even used this phrase last time because it wasn't at the same time on the same day. It was Hiroshima or Hiroshima, as my dad would say, and then Nagasaki 2 days later. It wasn't the same fucking day. They didn't give up. It was necessary. And that didn't just save, and I'm going to bring it back to Israel Gaza in a moment. Dropping those bombs didn't just save American lives, it saved Japanese lives, millions of Japanese lives, not to talk even about the probably upwards to 1 million American lives that it in fact saved. So here, Israel versus Gaza, Israel saved Palestinian lives. 60,000, maybe 67,000 dead, at least 20,000 of those, if not, I think the number might be 30,000, if not a little bit more. But let's just use the most conservative numbers. 67,000 Palestinians dead, 20,000 of whom were terrorist fighters, specifically Hamas. That is the best ratio of all time. And what did Israel do by sacrificing the 500 soldiers that died in Gaza from October 7th on? That saved Palestinian lives. This was a necessary war. So when Dave Smith has this outlook that wars are bad, what he's saying is all wars are bad. That's not true. That's not real. Because when a genocidal horde comes after you to murder you and yours, guess what? You need to go to war with them. Because if you don't, everybody's going to go to war with you, and your group, your clan, whatever it is, that you call the people that you surround yourselves with, whether that be a state or a country, it doesn't matter. It will not last to the end of the week if you do not stand up for yourselves. So if Israel didn't respond to the act of genocide committed against them by Palestinian terrorists on October 7th, there was no way at all for Israel to survive as a nation. I believe Dave Smith wants that as the result because I've
Mm.
never heard him say a good thing about Israel at no point. He doesn't know what the Nakba truly is. The Nakba, which is the Syrian historian who actually coined the term, it was all about how the Arab armies couldn't work together and that's why they lost. That's what the Nakba is, not the 800,000. And again, using the other side's numbers, just so people don't say that I'm, faking the numbers or anything like that. That's not what the Nakba was. For decades, that's not what the Nakba was. So Dave Smith disagrees with just the foundation of Israel. So that's why every single one of his arguments fails. They just fail because he doesn't want Israel to be Israel. He always talks about apartheid and genocide, yet he's never going to talk about the literal apartheid that exists not just in Gaza, but in the Palestinian Authority controlled territories. No Jews can live there. No Jews can own land. You can't do that if you're a Jew like me and a Jew like you. But you'll never hear him talk about that apartheid. You'll never hear him referred to as October 7th as a genocide. And that's what Coleman Hughes kept doing. Coleman Hughes just kept it right on point. And every time Dave Smith had a point that did not make any sense for Dave Smith's own worldview, Coleman Hughes pointed it out. And that's why it was so good. Coleman Hughes wasn't making claims for Israel. Coleman Hughes was trying to get Dave Smith to abide by his own worldview, and he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I should retract my statements I just made about Dave
No,
Smith
it's okay
about
because
3
he
minutes
doesn't.
ago.
I will say this: he is a guy where, if, like, I had a couple of beers and we were talking about fucking anything else
Anything
I've ever
else?
heard. Anything else, right? He doesn't look like a bad dude in that regard.
Yeah,
He's a
that's what I was trying
bad
to
dude.
say.
Right. He's a bad dude in my book because he doesn't want a country of which I'm a citizen to exist. He thinks
Right.
it is the font of all evil. And again, just like Tucker Carlson, his foreign policy analyses are fucking putrid, and he'll never admit it. Again, he was a World War III guy. Fuck you. Such a bad one. And no one gives a shit on the right now. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's so what's interesting about sort of everyone having a public platform is there's no real consequences for saying shit that is really not true.
Yes.
Like a really fear-mongering not true. World War III is coming. It's within 19 days. Homeboy Ian Carroll was talking about it, and that dude's got like 1 million followers. In like 2 days, he got 1 million followers. Some weird and hairy's going on there. But
I was going to say, that's a
yeah.
conspiracy theory I'm behind. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. It's just interesting, it's interesting because I've been on the internet for a long time and posting content every single day for like the last 6 years. I'm not even close to that number of people on there, but it is what it is. Whatever. I'd rather have my build be organic and real rather than fake and built behind something else.
How'd he get on Rogan before you? You've got a fucking awesome background and you're in Texas. That's
Yeah, it's
I'll
true.
just leave it at
I feel
that.
like
Yeah.
I feel like Rogan and I would shoot the shit pretty good. I think we would have a lot to
Really
talk about.
good because he tried, like, and that's where Rogan, I'm going to take a page out of your book. That's where Rogan is at his best. And I think it's why people like him. And it's why I love you. I'm like, no, you're the Jewish Joe Rogan. Like, we need to do that, including actually having a sports and athletic background. Like, come on, people, let's get behind Aaron. Let's do it. Come on. We need more of this. Israel sucks at PR and Aaron is the way through. We need a Joe Rogan of our own. And that's you, my dude.
Thank you.
Of course, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I fucking mean that as much as I can mean anything. But Rogan is a guy who genuinely wants the best
Mhm.
for people, and he sees the good side in everybody and everything. I am the fucking opposite of that. I see nothing but like black and haze. It's not cool. But with Dave Smith, that's the same. I can see what when Dave Smith says that he is anti-war because he wants as many people to live as possible, I completely and sincerely believe him. I do. I think, no, slash, I know his philosophy breeds more war. It happened in World War II with Chamberlain and the British. It's happening in the Middle East with Iran until Papa Trump came in. I'm not the biggest Trump fan, but I know a good dude, or I know when somebody's doing good when I see it, and Trump is doing really good in the Middle East. I truly hope that there's going to be peace, and this now can bring it all the way back to the Coleman Hughes. That's how you get peace in the Middle East. Dave Smith doesn't understand the Arab mindset. He just doesn't. It's not his fault. He doesn't want to think that people are that truly evil. That's
Mm,
the issue that Dave Smith has. And it's really, really difficult. And the way to get to peace in the Middle East is by, oh yeah, we've been swearing nonstop, so I can say this. The way to get to peace in the Middle East is by swinging a big old dick. And that's what Trump did when it came to bombing Fordo. And that's how he got the peace with Gaza. He said, Turkey, Erdogan, I'll give you some F-35s. Qatar, you know how Israel just bombed you when all of the Hamas leaders were in Doha? I might just let them do that again if you guys don't pressure Hamas to end this war. I think that the reason he wants to end the war is because Trump just likes to be able, I brought peace, which sweet, awesome. But that's how you get to peace. You don't get to peace in the Middle East by playing patty cake. You get to the Middle East by dropping some big fucking bombs on people. And that's how the Israelis, Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, got the entire area, at least for right now, in something resembling peace.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, I mean, we'll talk about the hostages being coming home and how exciting and amazing that is to sort of maybe wrap up this up. But I got a few more things to talk to you about. But I did want to mention about specifically in that episode with Coleman and Dave, like one of the cool parts was that really stood out to me was like Dave was talking about sort of how Israel, the establishment of Israel, and when he says stuff that is probably true, but then Coleman points out like it's also a lie of omission. Now, if
Yeah.
someone doesn't know more of the truth, they think what you're saying is the whole truth, and then it's believable because he says it with confidence. He's a very smart guy. He knows a lot of things. He's read a lot of stuff. I'll
I
give him
think
a
he's
ton of
eloquent.
credit
Yeah.
there. Like,
Yeah.
like I think that's very cool because all of us are just dudes doing dude shit. None of us are any smarter than anyone else. Like kind of like we talked about last time. But then Coleman points out like, but that's a lie of omission. You're leaving out crucial details that don't show the full picture of what you're talking about. And I think once that was pointed out, those who are actually watching with some intent kind of figured out what sort of the game plan of someone like Dave Smith could potentially be. And that was nice and eye-opening for me, at least when I was watching it.
Yeah, and it's infuriating to somebody like me because again, this is my actual job. This is what I do is I go and I teach people why you should be proud to be a Jew, why it's a good thing to be a Zionist, why when you hear people dogging on you for being either Jewish or Israeli or a Zionist, the response should be fuck you and here's why. So the main thing is whenever somebody says, "Oh, it didn't start in on October 7th," I'm like, "Pick a date. What's the date that you want? Do you want it to be in 2014 when rockets were being fired? Do you want it to be 2008 to 2009 over New Year's when again more rockets were being fired? Do you want it in the early 2000s in the second Intifada where buses were being blown up? Do you want it in the 1990s in the first Intifada where pizza places were being blown up? Do you want it in 1982 with Lebanon? Do you want it in 1973 when they attacked on Yom Kippur, the most holy day in the Jewish New Year? Do you want it in 1967, where 5 different armies were lined up to fuck us up? And as the song by Sabaton goes, there was a massive counterstrike, and we brought some righteous justice to everybody. And part of the 1967 war was the fact that we got back Jerusalem, which was being illegally occupied by Jordan from 1948 to 1967. So then do you want to pick 1948? Because that's not even the fucking start of the war, because the Jerusalem was being laid siege to in December 1947. So pick the date. That's what I always ask people. And so that lie of omission, that was the part, Aaron, when I heard that, I was clapping in my living room because I'm like, thank you. Finally, somebody knows their shit well enough. And because Coleman is the inverse of who I am, just manic energy popping out everywhere. Coleman's like, so this this is where you're bullshit. I wish he would swear. I like when he swears, I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
So because of that low energy, and I mean that as a positive, it's not low energy, it is somebody who's composed. That composure allowed him to hit a point, the lie of omission that Dave Smith constantly does when he talks about Israel. That's where he hit him so hard because he took that guy who sounds like he has so much confidence, and if you talk with that much confidence, you have to be right, right?
Hmm.
No, it's
Hmm.
a lie of omission. I just love that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think we got to give Douglas Murray some credit here. He was right about these comedians who are only not comedians until it is, convenient for them when they say something that's like not right, but like sort of right. And it's like, well, I'm just a comedian, and I'm just a podcaster. So
Right.
it is what it is.
Nobody's just in anything any longer. Everybody is whatever they want to be. You might be a comedian at night, but when you're on the podcast and you're talking about Israel and foreign policy as if you know the fucking thing through and through, and you've read Walter Russell Mead's book that is over there behind me, that tome, Ark of the Covenant, terrific book, dense, but terrific book if you can get through it. You're that person. You can't be on the podcast talking about foreign policy, clown nose on, whenever you make a mistake. And then next line's like, no, but you need to believe me that I'm 100% correct about everything I'm saying as it pertains to Israel. No, fuck you. That's not how this works any longer.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of Joe Rogan, I like what Sam Harris had to say about what he should be doing, because Joe Rogan was like biggest podcast in the whole world, and he is such a dude's dude. Like he just wants to hang out and have a conversation. He wants to catch your vibe, but when someone comes on there. Because Joe has an episode almost every single day, and he has 3-hour conversations with these people. There's no way he can do a full sort of deep dive into everything they've ever said ever. Like it's just not possible. But what Sam Harris had mentioned is that Joe Rogan could hire 2 people, pay them both $1 million a year, and they just sit there at the table next to Jamie, and all they do is just fact check everything that person says throughout the episode. That's all they do. They have Jamie still there to put the stuff on the screen, to bullshit, to be the Jamie, and he has 2 guys there, pay him $1 million a year. They're there at every episode, and all they do is just fact check. And maybe throughout the episode, maybe he doesn't have to stop the episode in the middle to ruin the flow, but like when they do post and they create the video, all they do is say, no, wasn't right. This is what it actually is true. And they can have some disclaimers there. And I think that's the responsibility that you have to have. And I think Sam Harris was right there. And of course, people misconstrued what Sam Harris was saying. They were like, Sam Harris thinks there should be censorship and he shouldn't have people. Sam Harris is like, I don't give a fuck who you talk to, bro. I don't care. Nobody cares. Sam Harris is like all about freedom of speech. Like he understands what a democracy should look like. And Sam Harris is also a big, champion for Israel and all of that since October 7th. Anyways, that's besides the point. But his point here is extremely good. Extremely good. When you have that kind of money, Joe Rogan makes $200 million a year, or not a year, but has $200 million from Spotify. He can pay a couple dudes $1 million a year to literally fact check so that the 15 million people that watch his episodes every single day are getting the right information. And it doesn't dwindle or decrease sort of the vibe of why the Joe Rogan experience is so good, because it is just a dude having conversations, talking about fucking whatever, which everyone loves. We enjoy that. But I think if he does that, he can shoulder that responsibility a little bit more of having such a powerful platform that he does, because he does. That's just like is what it is. And I think that was really genius from Sam Harris.
Yeah, and there's a certain responsibility. First off, I hadn't heard that from Sam Harris. I love that idea. My first thought is it shouldn't be all the time. It shouldn't be every single comment that they make. It should be like grandiose comments, because I love it when dudes are high and drunk on his show. It's wonderful. That's the point
Mm-hmm.
of the conversation. When you have a know-it-all constantly butting in, no. But when it's something like how Dave Smith has the lie of omission, yeah, there should be something right along the bottom of that screen. Oh, God. Because now you get into YouTube. I like the idea. There's got to be a good way to do it. So sorry.
Right.
There's got to be a good way to do it, but I like that idea because there is a responsibility when you reach that many people. And that, by the way, it brings it back to the conversation from earlier for Megyn Kelly. I understand Tucker's your friend. I think that's fucking outrageous that he's your friend. And it makes me really doubt who your friends are, like, and what is okay with you. But Megyn Kelly, you have a responsibility. If you want to be thought of as a principled person on the right, you have a responsibility to call it out when the right's not doing it right, because we're doing well. Why should I listen to you then when you say the left is? Because you can't fucking do it over here when it's hard. Why should I listen to you when it's easy? Joe Rogan, you hear and speak to so many people. You have to. There has to be something better than what you're doing platforming in Ian Carroll. That can't fucking happen. Absolutely not. And you can talk to him, and I want people to hear him because he's insane. And I think he's a Chinese fucking ox, by the way. That's my conspiracy
That's your
theory.
conspiracy? All
That's
right.
that goddamn janitor from fucking Idaho. I don't know. He's gross looking. That's the other thing I hate. I hate the reemergence of gross looking mustaches. Unless you're a player on the Yankees or a cop or a firefighter, you should not have a fucking mustache. It's disgusting. Although you'd probably have a great one, but again, it looked like a porn star. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand what's going on. I want my facial hair. I want my facial hair. But no, Ian Carroll, when he has 3 hours to spew his bullshit on Joe Rogan and Rogan doesn't know enough to say bullshit, there needs to be a way to counteract that, because all he's
Yeah.
done is turn into, and this is a high end analogy, so I'm sorry that it's like in this direction. You've turned into a Goebbels. You've turned into a Joseph Goebbels. That's what you're doing when you're just allowing that type of hatred to spew on your platform. There's no other way. It's propaganda. It's straight propaganda. And you should be fucking not ashamed. You should be scared that you're the person pushing the propaganda.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know exactly how the sort of the dynamics or of it would work, but at least something has to be there has to be some sort of effort in some direction. Yeah, like when he has his MMA episodes or like when he has fucking Brandon Schwab on or what's his name?
Shop.
Yeah, maybe that's his name. Yeah, Brandon Schwab. Like whatever, dude. Yeah, great. Like, awesome. Shoot the shit. We love it. We love it. It's
Oh, the
great. But
bald
there are
guy, the bald. I feel so bad about my life. I used to be a sports broadcaster. The bald MMA guy, his buddy. I can't remember.
uh,
That's the one you might be thinking of.
I don't
Along
know
with
any of
it's
them.
Brandon Schaub, and then I forget who the other dude is. That's
Brian
always there.
Callen? Is that him? Brian Callen? No,
He's
I
one of
don't know.
them. Yes,
I
he's
don't know.
one of them.
Anyways, but yeah, that's just a thought. I don't know. Maybe Joe Rogan got Sam Harris's message because I know they used to be friends. I don't know if they are now. Anyways, but that doesn't really matter too much. But to wrap up this episode, we can try to end on a high note here, a little positive note. A couple days ago, the hostages got freed. There is somewhat of a peace plan in place. What is your overall census of that peace plan? Are you optimistic about it? What's your vibe there?
So I'm going to start with the negative so we can end on the positive. No, not optimistic about it. First and foremost, because Hamas never actually has come through on their end. As we speak right now on October 16th, there are still, I believe, 20 dead hostages remaining in Gaza. That number might be a little bit off, but it's more than 10 dead hostages remaining in Gaza right now. They said that they can't get to the rest of the hostages. Yes, they can. At least they can get to 80% of the remaining dead hostages. And for those that don't know, in Judaism, having a dead body to bury is just as important for hostage purposes as getting a live person back. It is extremely important in Judaism to bury somebody in Judaic fashion. So this is extremely important. It's not like a toss away line. It is just as, if not more, important than the live hostages. So I don't see that. I don't see Hamas giving up power in any way, shape, or form. We're already seeing them rebrand themselves and reform. We're seeing extrajudicial, I can say that one again, extrajudicial executions in the streets of Gaza for people that they claim to be collaborators. I laughed because I saw Mehdi Hassan say how they can't be doing that. And that was actually the exact reason that Yahya Sinwar was in an Israeli jail prior to the Gilad Shalit deal, which compelled the release of Yahya Sinwar. It was because Yahya Sinwar killed 4 Palestinians for, in his words, collaborating with Israel. That's what's going on right now. Every single day. It's still happening. I have seen at least 15 different people brutally murdered in the streets of Gaza, being sent it on Telegram. So I'm not very confident about that whatsoever. I don't think anybody was for 100% peace. With all of that being said, I am ecstatic. I have doubted Donald Trump over and over again, especially when we're talking about Qatar. Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Very straightforward. He does. He should have gotten it with the Abraham Accords in his first term. He should absolutely get it here. It will be a slam dunk if he brings peace to Ukraine and Russia. I think that's going to be harder. I just don't think that the jihadists in the Middle East, and specifically in Gaza, as well as the Palestinian Authority territories, I don't think they're ever going to let up. That's just not what they do. They're telling you that they're not going to do it. I'm a simple person and I'm not bigoted. So I actually believe people when they tell me this. And I know their religion well enough to believe them when they say this. With all of that being said, this is a win. This isn't just a win for Jews and Israelis. This is a win for the world. It's a win for the United States of America. It's a win for people like Dave Smith, even though he doesn't want to admit it. For those of you who are anti war, this is a win for you. Fewer people will die in the next 6 months than have died in the previous 2 years. This is a win. If you are somebody who truly believes in the sanctity of life, then this is a win. It is worth celebrating, no matter what side of the aisle you are on, no matter what you think about Jews and Israel or Palestinians. This is a win because more people will live longer lives today than they were as of last week. So thank you, Donald Trump. God bless you. And that's the best way I can end this on a positive note.
Yeah. I have to say something though, so maybe we won't end on a positive note. um, it's interesting to hear the silence of the ceasefire now, people, because they are not sort of excited, right? 2 years we've been calling for a ceasefire now.
Dave Smith,
2 years we've been seeing people protest in the streets before even the blood was dry on the people who were murdered on October 7th, right? It's been a
before Israel
genocide
responded.
it's been a genocide the whole entire time, even though that doesn't really hold up to international law. I had a genocide scholar on this podcast who's been a genocide scholar for 30 years, and really made, just like was said, it's just not a genocide, or if it is, it's the slowest fucking genocide ever to exist in the history of the universe. But anyways, and so yeah, like I just don't get it. Like all the celebrities and the people who go to the award shows and are like, "We free Palestine, we need a ceasefire now," and then we get it, and where it's happening. It's like the best thing that could have happened moving forward for all people to live with self-determination and dignity and hope for life and all these sorts of things, and we get nothing. And it's like so weird that it was really about the Palestinian people and their right to live, or was it really about just fucking hating Jews and Israel? And it makes it real clear, when those types of things happen, when a good thing does happen that you claim that you wanted the whole time, and then you can't even say good job or congratulations or this is good news or I'm optimistic now for the future, then I think you might not be the good person that you think you are.
Yeah. When I always wanted a new glove for a catcher's mitt and I got it, I wasn't silent. I was joyous. I said, "Thank you very much, Dad and Mom, Abba and Ema. Thank you very much for this glove. Thank you very much for giving me the thing I wanted and I bothered you ad nauseum about." Apparently, it's not the same when it comes to ceasefires. So I think you're
Yeah.
telling on yourself when you don't celebrate a ceasefire because all that anti-war people like Dave Smith, very upset about it. So I'm the anti-war guy. You're the anti-war guy. That's how you win that messaging, by the way. Turns out
Yeah.
we're the anti-war people because we're celebrating the end of hostilities. You guys aren't because you're not. It's actually a very, very simple, logical conclusion.
Yeah. I guess I don't know what these people are going to talk about now. So I have to come up with something else. Anyways, maybe
Who
they could
killed
talk
Charlie
about,
Kirk?
yeah, there we go. Going down that conspiracy rabbit hole theory. Anyways, Wow, what a great chat. What a great chat. Jake, do you have any last minute thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, anything that's on the top of your mind, maybe something that we missed that you want to mention before we just jet off into the sunset?
Yeah, I think you already mentioned this, but if you're a pessimistic person like me who's always looking at the downside of things and you're looking at the direction that the country is going in, thinking, oh no, this seems to be a very dark path, do what I did and my wife did, do what Aaron is doing and what his wife is doing. Get a family, get a partner, get a child. It's the greatest thing in the world. And if you're really truly worried about this country and you want to save it like I do and like you do, Aaron, that's how you save it. You save it
Hmm.
by literally building and forming the next generation. And the only reason I really brought this up is because I just want to say it one more time, dude. Mazal tov, mazel tov. I am so happy for you and your wife and your boy. I'm jealous you got a boy. My baby girl is awesome, but I want to play baseball. I want to do that, and she'll probably have to play softball, so I have to learn how to teach her how to pitch. But I'm so happy for you, and that's all. I'm just so happy for you guys.
Yeah, same to you, my friend. Hopefully, you guys want to have another one. Is that the plan?
Yes, 2.
Yeah.
2,
So
and
hopefully
then
we
that's
just
it. We're old. 2 and that's it. I'm sorry.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
Hopefully we just swap. You get your boy next. I'll get my girl next, and
They're
then
awesome. She's so cute.
family vacations for us will be perfect. But
Done.
yeah, dude, it's a fucking beautiful thing, man. When anything's going on in the world now, like at least marrying my wife completely changed me as a human. Falling in love with her completely changed me. It saved me. It was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And then you add on top of that, I'm sure for you as well, guys like us need great women in our lives. So thank God we fucking found them. God, thank God. And then you add a child on top of that. It's like, yeah, man, I like if anything goes to shit in the whole world, at least I can do something. I have some control over this little tiny community that I have of these three people and my parents too. And that's beautiful. And I'm gonna do my best for that because I believe wholeheartedly there's a domino effect. I think that's why I do this podcast. That's my domino effect, and my family is a domino effect, and things bleed out into each other, and energies get transferred, and things happen, especially in the Jewish community where we're so small, where we know everyone and knows everyone. Like things are can get better, they will get better, but it starts with you taking action, taking control of your life, and yeah, finding a partner, having kids, understanding the beauty of marriage and celebrating that. So yeah, man, thanks, Jake. I appreciate you very much. Happy for our friendship. Glad I found you on X. This is our third episode together. We'll probably do a zillion more. And yeah, lots of love, man.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed this as always.